Hello and welcome back for the 31 Days of Halloween. We are doing a horror movie a day throughout the month of October. And today we are doing the 1931 black and white classic Bela Lugosi's Dracula. This is the second of five direct interpretations and adaptations of Bram Stoker's Dracula. And yeah, let's get to it. It's a vampire movie. I hadn't seen this in my adult life. I haven't seen this since I was a kid. This is just so familiar with all the music, and and this is just so well done for its day, and it keeps the three vampires. But what it does here is that it switches Harker, who makes this journey, for Renfield, who ends up as Dracula's thrall. And this is just for the background, but there is I noticed this distinct sexual tension between Renfield and Dracula. I'm going to say it right now. There's some real gay coding going on right here, right now, in 1931. And that's where all, you couldn't be overt about things that were underground and from different communities. It's not how it is today. So, I'm just putting that out there. It's just as much as something such as Joel Schumacher's The Lost Boys has a lot of tension and gay coding, queer coding in that movie. I'm going to say that Renfield is definitely hot for Dracula. I'll say that, yeah. And we got Harker in this, we got Mina, we've got Lucy, we've got Van Helsing, and we got Dr. John Seward. We don't have Lord the nobleman, I forget his name. Let me look it up. Hello. And the American Quincy, and this is where am I going with this? We're going to the book. That's where we're going. We're gonna take a little trip down memory lane and in history. We're gonna say I'm gonna read from chapter 10 of In Search of Dracula by Raymond T. McNally and Radu Florescu. And I'm using all this. This is my DVDs. This is my books, and I'm using this for entertainment purposes. So please, it's about vampirism and old world folklore. The notion behind vampirism traces far back in time to Man the Hunter, who discovered that when blood flowed out of a wounded beast or a fellow human, life too drained away. Blood was the source of vitality, thus men smeared themselves with the blood and sometimes drank it. The idea of drinking blood to renew vitality thereupon entered history. To the vampire, indeed, quote, the blood is the life, unquote, as Dracula, quoting from Deuteronomy 12:13, tells us in Stoker's novel. Through the actual biblical passage is a warning against drinking human blood. Vampire belief is universal. It has been documented in ancient Babylon, Egypt, Rome, Greece, and China. Vampire accounts exist in completely separate civilizations where any direct borrowing would not have been possible. The vampire is known by various names in Greek, in Sanskrit, in Russian, in Polish, in German. Early Chinese were afraid that the gongshi, a demon who drinks blood. In China, it was reported that vampires existed there in 600 BCE. Depictions of vampires are found on ancient Babylonian and Assyrian pottery going back thousands of years before Christ. The belief flourished in the New World as in the Old. Ancient Peruvians believed in a class of devil worshippers who sucked blood from the sleeping young in order to partake of their life. Aztecs sacrificed the hearts of prisoners to the sun in the belief that their blood fed the sun's continuing energy. In ancient Greece, horrible winged demon women who lured handsome youth to their death in order to drink their blood and eat their flesh. Yeah, the first woman on earth was Lilith. This is Jewish mysticism. According to Semitic belief in the Talmud and the books of Jewish law, customs, and tradition, Adam had a wife before Eve named Lilith. She was disobedient to Adam and challenged his authority, and in a state of anger, she left Adam. The three angels, Sanvi, Sansamvi, and Semagalef, tried to convince her to stay. Because of her disobedience, her children were killed and transformed into a night roaming monster. Eve then came into the picture and bore Adam children. Extremely jealous, Lilith went about taking her revenge by killing the sons and daughters of Adam and Eve. Wow. And it goes on and on. So yeah, vampire myth goes very, very far back. It really does. And yeah, and so this 1931 movie, it's black and white, of course. It's a talkie. I mean, talking movies were new then. This was a cultural sensation. This took the world by storm. I'm not doing all the movies of the Bela Lugosi series, but in this, I got a six-pack. We have this 1931 Dracula. There's Dracula's daughter, son of Dracula, House of Frankenstein, House of Dracula, and Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. And in all three of these, Bela Lugosi reprises this role. That, and look at, there he is, the eyes, the accent, and yeah, this was an interesting movie. I love old movies. It's really concise. It's an hour and 15 minutes long, so there are no wasted story beats in this movie. And as it goes to being how tight is it to Dracula by Bram Stoker? It is pretty tight to it, except for switching Renfield for Harker in the beginning. And we have Arthur Holmwood and Quincy Morris are missing from this tale. Those are the two of the three young men that help Dr. Van Helsing save the day. And this pretty much ends the same way as the book. They don't mention the 7 years later. The book ends 7 years after the events of defeating the Count Dracula, where Mina and Jonathan Harker live happily ever after, and they have their son. They named him after Quincy, who sacrificed his life to save Mina's, and so Mina could regain her humanity after being bitten by Count Dracula. The end. Yeah, and that was our concise little version of our speed version of 1931's Dracula by Todd Browning. And yeah, it was just an old movie, really cool, and there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, there's something about pointed teeth, these big these, it's kind of phallic, and so these mini fallacies penetrate, and there's an exchange of bodily fluids, and I don't know, there's something always sexual about the vampire. It's power of thrall, and its modus operandi of like, biting, of feeding upon another human to sustain its life. But there's something, and we're going to keep returning to this, there is something always sexual about a vampire, about its ability to persuade you, about its ability to convince you to give it consent, whether to let it in the home, giving it permission to enter, and being under its thrall, offering your neck and your lifeblood to it. I don't know. Yeah. So today is it's the 10th day of Halloween. On the 10th day of Halloween, do. Yeah, it's too early for that. I'm not doing Christmas music. No Christmas music before Black Friday. That's my, it's Halloween season right now. Let's get to Halloween. Let's get to Samhain. Then let's start celebrating Thanksgiving. Well, we're leading up to Halloween night, where I'll reveal one of my favorite all-time horror movies. And thank you so much for tuning in. We're doing 31 horror movies over the course of the month of October. And tonight's movie has been Dracula, starring Bela Lugosi, from 1931, which was based on the play. It was a 1924 stage play that adapted Bram Stoker's 1897 book. So it was a popular novel, and it was adapted into a very successful stage production, which was then made into this movie. And this movie spawned an entire universe. From here comes Frankenstein and the Mummy and the whole Universal monsters thing. Pretty much. But what do you think? Leave a comment in the comments section. What movies are you watching this Halloween? I'd like to know. I'm also taking suggestions for next year, so you can leave that in. This year's pretty much all set, but I keep getting great suggestions from other people, and it's really nice to be into a circuit of other creators and movie fans and horror movie fans who are also celebrating the 31 days of Halloween. And it's been really fun so far. So thank you so much for coming on this ride. We are watching a horror movie a day. I love movies. I love everything about movies. Script writing, production, set designs, costumes, special effects, music. There's such an aggregate of different artists that contribute to making a movie happen. And it's really fun. And this is how I'm celebrating the Halloween season. Thank you so much for tuning in. God bless. Namaste. Good luck. Please like and subscribe. I would love to earn your subscription. We make daily content here. Thank you so very much. Tune again tomorrow. We'll find out what's going on. Actually, I'll tell you. We're going to do 1973's Dan Curtis's Dracula, starring Jack Palance. Well, yeah. This is a made-for-TV version, and once again, we'll get into the differences of adaptation, how greatly that one differs from Bram Stoker's original vision and what he put down. And I'm not mocking anyone or my own culture or my own my own fellowship. We tend to take it very badly and personally and drastically, that there's no adherence to the source material of things that are being remade today. And so I guess there is a real distinct difference between purposefully changing things from modernity to make people happy. We call it checking off boxes. There's a lot of that going on. And then there's authentic attempts at adapting an original source material. And there's always, the audiobook went for 15 hours. That it was a pretty, decent sized book. But to condense that into a 90-minute screenplay, or even a 2-hour screenplay, I mean, there is adaptation. And then this is what happens in adaptation. Things will get changed. Characters can be fused. Characters can be outright forgotten about. I guess, does the story itself, does the adaptation stand on its own? This time, yeah, this one really does. Mostly all of them have. So yeah, we're going to do my 5 prime Dracula movies that I have in my collection. Nosferatu, 1922. Bela Lugosi, 1931. We're going to do Dan Curtis's 1973. We're also going to do 1992's Bram Stoker's Dracula by Francis Ford Coppola. Interesting movie, interesting adaptation, and it gets a lot right. I think it gets but I think it suffers from pacing problems. And then we're going to wrap it up with 1958's The Horror of Dracula, the first Hammer movie starring Christopher Lee and Peter as Count Dracula and Peter Cushing as Van Helsing. And we're going to talk about that adaptation too, because once again, liberties are real liberties are taken, especially in the Hammer one, in The Horrors of Dracula, 1958. That's where I see actually the most divergent, and I pretty much maybe the most sticking to the original would be Coppola's. Yet it's we'll get to Coppola when we get to Coppola. We will. Thank you so much for tuning in. God bless. Namaste. Good luck. Wear some garlic. Don't, and let the right ones in, all right? And don't and if someone's tapping on your window in the middle of the night and they're a little pale and their eyes are glowing, don't open the window, please. Thank you so much. Cheers. See you again tomorrow.